Divide by 2-digit divisors today. What is the only difference today than what we did yesterday? It's the only major difference. Xavier.
It's like the same thing, but if you divide it by 2 digits, you automatically go to the second number.
Yeah, you're just going to be dividing with larger numbers than this time around. The process will stay the same. The questions we'll ask ourselves will be consistent with what we asked ourselves for today's assignment. Okay? And it may require that you do some multiplication on your own on the side. Usually more mistakes with these because there's more actual multiplication with it, and which just kind of goes with the territory. I don't think it's, the process itself isn't that much harder. We had talked about a skill, first lesson of the chapter where we estimate. Now, I know that when we did the estimating assignment, the division was harder than the multiplication because we said you can't just take any two numbers and divide them. They just don't work that way, as evidenced by your assignment today. If they had remainders, they just didn't work that way. There was something left over. But if I were, just for argument's sake, going to try to estimate this one, what's the first number I always estimate? Say. Which one? No. Why the 18? Because it's what we are dividing by. And you'll see, you'll remember this. What would you round that to, Zay? 20. We make it something really easy to work with. Say, okay, that 18 is close enough to 20. Then I'd look where? Just the first two digits of that larger number. It looks like a 16. What number closest to 16 might be divisible by what? Not 20, but 2. We could go with 18. We could keep it at 16 if we wanted to. We could keep it at 160, right? Well, the closer the better. The closer the better. And that would be what? What's 16 divided by 2? Somewhere around 8. So we should get somewhere around 8. We'll see what happens. So let's set it up. Now, Eli, just to be clear, we're not just estimating today. Okay? We're just using that as a tool. 18, say it says since we've got a 2-digit number, we're going to automatically go to those first 2 digits. Does that work? Does 18 go into 16? Does not. So I need to kind of say, okay, 18 into 168. Well, good thing I estimated. What's the first number maybe I want to try to see if it's going to be close to? Alexis, let's try the 8. So over here, we'll do our work. 18 times 8. 8 times 8, 64. 6 plus 8, 14. 44. How do we know for sure? That doesn't have to give me one more in. So you want to try by 9? Only one way to find out. Oh, there's more than one. 62. I think we're good. What's left? 6. So 9, remainder 6. Now, were we spot on with the 8? No, but at least it gave us an idea. Some of you, I mean, I've seen this before. You won't think at all about the relationship of the 18 to the 168. I see people do this. Nope. And they go through the whole thing. And they say, well, these problems sure take a long time. Take a look at what you're working with, okay? The other good estimate is this, like, you can't use 10. I can't put a 10 up here, right? I can't put a 10 up there. But just as a benchmark, 10 is really easy to multiply with. Like if I just in my head said, well, 18 times 10, what is that? 180. Knowing that the 168 is really close to the 180, gee, it's got to be really close to the 10, but I can't use 10. Also, it helps me with what's 18 times 5. If I know what 18 times 10 is, half of that, right? What's half of 180? 90. So if it were to be, somewhere less, you could say, oh, well, I'll try that. Yeah. Sure. 18 to 60. You say 4? 72. Too many. 3? 3 is 54. So we would have 9.3 repeating. Okay? Yes, you can still use the big boy. Absolutely. Okay? Try one? Of course. Okay, I'll write it that way just in case you want to use that estimation skill. Okay, step by step, I'm dealing with a 13. It's 13 going to 15. How many times? Once. So that 1, we have to make sure it goes over the 5 in 15. So there's my 13. I subtract. There's 2. Drop the 6. How many times is 13 going to 26? Mariah? 2 times, which is, okay, now here's where it gets just a little bit tricky. I have 0 left. I drop down to 2. I ask myself the last question, does 13 go into 2? Say? I need a 0. Okay, need a 0. How many are left? That 2. Yes?
What if, like, when you got the 15 minus 30, you put 2, sometimes, can you, like, you bring the 6 and the 2 down at the same time?
So I'm going to keep these one at a time, say. I'm going to keep them one at a time, just kind of keep them in order. Okay. Anyone do big boy math on this one? So we should have the 1, then the 70, right? And how many times do you say? 4? 4 would be what? 52? It's got to be 5. Five is 65. Into 50, I think it's 3. And to 110, oops. And to 110. All right. There it is. When you have to do the assignments where it's going to actually be dividing with decimals, they won't let them go forever. I mean, there are some decimals that will go for literally forever. That's just not nice. Okay. Give it a shot. So if you're having any confusion at all, just kind of watch up here, please, so we can make sure that we're off to a good start. 25 is what we're going to find out how many times that 25 can go into 14,883. Now, just because we're starting with those first two doesn't mean it's going to work. See, you watching? If this number on the outside is bigger than those first two digits, is 25 bigger than 14? So it won't fit into 14. It's not possible. Okay? If you have a 25-inch waist, can you fit into a pair of jeans that have a 14-inch waist? No. Not possible. So we need to then go over to the third one. Can 25 fit into 148? Yes. That's where I need to focus my attention. How many times can I get 25 into 148 without going over 148, right? Tequila? 5 times, very good. And that will give us 125. 6 times gives us how many? Desad? 150, so just a little bit too big. So I'm going to go ahead and put that 5 over the 8 in 148. Now it's 125, 3, 2. This number here, this 23, that one should always be smaller than what you're dividing by. If it's not, what does that tell you? That you could have gotten it in at least one more time. So 238. What did we say? What's 25 times 10? 250. 238 close to that? So let's try the 9. And I get 225. Subtract 3 and 133. Well, good thing I just did this one. 25 times 5, and I'm glad that I kept my work in a place that's accessible to me, because I see that at 5 is going to be exactly what I need. So the 595, remainder 8, is what we'd be looking at. Now, if you took it a step further and decided to try to find the decimal, let's rewind a second. Oh, that's retarded. So here's the 8. How many times into 80? 4? 3, right? There's my decimal. 0.3, that's 75. And then how many times into 50? Doesn't matter. 2. There you go. Okay? Question? Okay. But you ended up with 595 remainder 8 or 595 and 32 hundredths? It's okay, there's no shame in that. On the back side is worksheet 2-4, and your assignment 3 through 8, and we're going to say pick 4. Now, those of you looking for a redo, this is going to serve as your assignment and as your redo. So what was our assignment? Our assignment was 8 points today. So this one's 4. It'll be doubled. Everything will be doubled for tomorrow. So if you score better out of 8 than you did for today, I'll replace yesterday's score, and that'll also be, the score for. So it'll work both ways. So, for example, let's say for today, Edsel, maybe we didn't do so hot. Maybe we had a 1 out of 8. Okay? And then tomorrow, you get an 8 out of 8. So that 8 out of 8 will stay as your score for that sheet right there. And then it'll also change that 1 to an 8. So it works as both if you score better. Carlos.
And is the rule different in dividing or regular dividing? You only have you only have like a remainder of 10 and lower.
No, it depends. Well, yeah, because because you're dealing with something that's less than 10.
So now,
Now your remainder just has to be less than what you're dividing by.
okay,
So for number 3, your remainder has to be less than what? Right. Right. I don't know. Do you want to get them right? Because there is a way to check your answers without using a... Okay? It's not a bad idea to double check, Mariah. Just take a look. Okay?